Charlie, just obviously the unique situation of Austin coming in at his age and about 2 weeks now under his belt. Just what have you seen from him from day one to end of this week?
Yeah, I think it takes a special kid to do what he's done, where, you're a sophomore in high school and I'm watching his like spring game and then boom, all of a sudden, he's here for us. And he's a very intelligent kid. I think that was obviously, highly public in the media and some of those things. So that's really helped him. He's got a great mindset and mentality, and he did a great job when he made that decision to come here of, getting the playbook, learning the plays, knowing all that stuff. And I think, he's got a great understanding of kind of the base install stuff, and then some of the more complicated things that come in, as you get to day 3, day 4, day 5. I think it's a little bit, for him. But overall, he's done a tremendous job, all things considered, with his situation. He's getting better each and every day. And once again, his mentality is just fantastic.
A word Lane and other players have said is maturity with Jackson. From your eyes and perspective, what have you seen from last year to entering camp this year?
Yeah, Jackson's, so further ahead than he was at this point last year. I think, people may underestimate the having a year in a system, knowing the plays, being very comfortable in the things that we're operating right there, and knowing, the timing of the footwork to the drops. And I think as he's grown confidence in his play, he's also, allowed himself to become a more vocal leader and, take some ownership on the team and some of those things. So it's been really cool to see.
Obviously, aside from him, there's a lot of other quarterbacks in that room, guys who, their talent and some experience that Spencer Sanders speaks for itself. And Lane was talking about the beginning of fall camp, how you approached him, and it's like, how do we rep these guys and all that. Just kind of through fall camp, and ever since you've had some of these guys on this team, what's kind of been the biggest challenge in like just handling just the competition aspect of it?
Yeah, the hardest challenge is you got 4 guys that, I feel are very, high quality football players that can win football games, and you've got to get all 4 of them ready to go and, give all 4 of those opportunities to show to their teammates what they can do, and to the coaches what they can do and what they can provide for the team. And so just being able to manage those reps and opportunities for those guys has definitely been a challenge, but it's a very fun room to work with. I commend those guys for the group that we have. A lot of times you have that, you get some tension because of competition and all that, but I feel like those guys have been tremendous and handled it in a very mature way, and they come in with the right mindset each and every day to get better.
As the offensive coordinator, what is the biggest determining factor in who is going to be the quarterback? Is there one specific thing that you're really looking for?
I think, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Obviously at the end of the day, my job is to coach those guys the best I can, get them playing at the highest level, and then ultimately let Coach Kiffin make that decision on who he deems the starter. So at the end of the day, he's the one who's going to have to make that decision. But, there's a variety of factors that, go into it, taking care of the football, explosive plays, who can operate the offense most efficiently, who can play with tempo. Several factors go into that, and it's my job to get all of those guys to play at their absolute best, so Coach can make a decision that he feels very comfortable with.
Franklin and Harris, a couple big fish from the portal to play receivers, and both Biletnikoff Award watch list guys. What have you kind of seen from them, and what are your hopes for them in this offense?
Yeah, I think, with our offense, it's always I think it can be hard at times for a receiver to play in an up-tempo offense with the things that we do, being able to learn the splits, learn the routes, do all the things that we do. And both of those guys have a very pro mindset, and they come in and they learn the playbook. They know what they're supposed to do. Their assignment sound, and they both got a really, unique skill sets to both of them. They both can do a little bit different things. But having 2 guys like that's extremely fun, puts us in a very good situation. But I think, the most, encouraging thing is both how intelligent those guys are, how they can learn and be able to play in our system at a fast pace.
Appreciate the time today, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
One area on the field where you have been able to retain some guys is the offensive line. How does that manifest itself in game? Why is that important at that position?
Yeah, I think the continuity is, really important for that group up front. Having, 4 or 5 guys back from a year ago. Obviously, Eli's played ball. Reese has played some ball. So we've got a bunch of guys in that room that played together. And so kind of once again talking about, the tempo and, some of the things that we do schematically, I think it's really good to have, guys who have played a lot in this system and really understand what we're trying to accomplish. They can make calls at a very fast pace, get lined up and go, and be all on the same page. And, at the end of the day, if we're assignment sound and doing what we're supposed to do, that's creates huge benefits. And, it's good having a couple new guys coming in here too, like Quincy and Vic, and, seeing them, develop and progress along and join those guys.
Where would you kind of compare that unit, I guess, at this point last year? Do you feel like it's on a similar trajectory? Where's it at?
I think probably a little bit further ahead, just because, with having 4 of those 5 guys back from a year ago, last year we had to, we bumped in Jaden and Micah and, moved Jeremy into guard. So some of those things happened kind of late, actually in season and some of that right there. So probably a little bit further ahead than we were a year ago at this point.
Lane said Caden, in his short time here, has already been voted on to the team leadership group. But on the field, from your eyes, what have you liked, what you've seen out of these couple weeks and in the spring as well with them?
Yeah, he's a great leader. He's a lead by example kind of guy. And once again, I just think it's huge for us to have guys who are extremely intelligent football players that can get lined up quickly, know exactly what to do, don't make mental mistakes. I just can't, overstate how important that is, especially in our system. And he's phenomenal with that. And he's, fantastic in the core blocking. He's obviously a huge target. Got a great catch radius that's going to be, great for us down the field as well to create some advantages. So it's very exciting having Caden here. He's done a tremendous job, and he's a great leader.
Kind of like what he said at the beginning of that question, just about leadership. It seems like it's a general consensus, among the players that we talked to, just the growth on and off the field of Jackson Dart as well, specifically also off the field as well. Just kind of, how have you seen that growth from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, I think, coming in, here, it's a bit of a transition, coming from, Utah, being at USC, coming in here, to a different team and all that. And obviously he was in a competition and some of that stuff just like he is now. And so I think he's just really, taken advantage of that time, from last season, to the off season, spring ball, summertime, to really develop relationships with his players off the field and really spend quality time with them, just to earn trust and earn perspective on how they see how they see the game, how they see life, some of that. So it's really cool to see how much time he pours into others.
And it seems like Aiden Williams is really just kind of standing out, at least as far as what we've seen in fall camp. Just, coming in as a freshman and young and a lot of old people around him. Just what have you seen from him as far as just his skill set? What do you feel like he can bring to the table? Yeah,
he's super far along for a true freshman. I think it's really impressive him being able to come in, make the plays that he has. His skill set is tremendous, super, super talented. And so it's pretty fun to have a guy like that to get to develop him, bring him along. Really excited to get him, when we get into a game plan and, get a really good deal for him. And he's going to definitely be a good player for us.
Beyond Quinshon, what does the running back room look like to you?
Yeah, so obviously got a new addition with Jam, so that's been a heck of a deal. But Dew's been fantastic. He's done some really good things in camp. He's a super explosive player. So I think we got a great complement. And Jam and Kedrick, our younger freshmen back, is doing good things as well. So we've got, some real quality guys in that room. It's a really good competition, for those guys to compete for carries.
This is your second year here now. What did you learn about yourself last year, and where do you think you've grown compared to where you were a year ago, just as a play caller, as a coach?
Yeah, I think, last year was, there's some good, some bad in it. And, just getting back working with Coach Kiffin again and, getting back in that flow, has been really good. And I think, we really took a lot of time this offseason to really attack some of the areas that we were not as effective last year to find some better solutions for that. So I think that's been the biggest thing is looking back on last season, seeing, where we as coaches could improve and get our players in the best possible situations, and then going out and doing studies and, finding some things to really help our guys out and to really study our roster and know our personnel. And it's really fun this year since we have a lot of guys coming back from a year ago, and we've got a lot better understanding of what they can do and, and making sure we get them in those positions to make plays.
I know most of that kind of offensive line is back, and I'm sure that'll help this guy too, but kind of a two-parter. One, how much of a security blanket is it for you for a team where there's so much turnover on the roster, but you have a lot of the O-line back and you've got such a special talent like Quinshon Judkins returning? And the second part of that, I mean, where does he rank in terms of the special players that you've coached and been around, and what makes him special?
Yeah, I think, the best 2 players I've ever been around is Derrick Henry and Q. So I was with Derrick Henry at Alabama. I actually spent time in that running back room with him, and, just seeing how special he was. Obviously won the Heisman Trophy that season, and I think Q's right there with him. And so the things that he can do and his skill sets, even improved since last season. The things that he can do in the passing game now is really unique, and so really excited to continue to develop and grow our system, around him and find new ways to feature him.
You mentioned Jam briefly there. Obviously one of the latest transfer additions y'all brought him, and also Mana, coming in and just eventually being added to the roster. What can you kind of say about them and just their skill sets?
Yeah, I think it's super early for those guys. Obviously, they've just been out, a couple days, but love how they've gone out there and attacked the day. And so really excited to see them as we, develop into fall camp, and a little early for, true evaluation right now, but love their mindset so far.
You said you're looking for things to improve. I'm going to assume, if I'm wrong, tell me, red zone,
Absolutely.
is that one of the areas you were attacking?
For sure. There's a bunch of those areas, but, red zone's definitely one that we look to improve upon for sure. So excited to continue to grow in that area.
Was it a physical thing or a mental thing or both or combination or?
Yeah, there's a combination of different things, and as we go through, like I said, it's really good this year knowing who we have personnel-wise and having a much better understanding of our roster going into this season. There obviously is a lot of new players that we have, but a lot more continuity compared to last year. So I think we've got a really good understanding of where we are with those guys, and finding stuff in the red zone to make sure that we use our people in the best situations.
Lane earlier in the week was talking about, with Quinshon Judkins, talking about going into a second year. He said it's not just really the improvements himself, but it's also just unlocking his, abilities even in kind of the receiving game as well. Do you feel like we can kind of see a little bit more from that Quinshon this year?
Definitely. I think, a lot of respect to Q for how he's worked on his craft in the offseason, and credit to Coach Smith, too, for working with him and developing those areas of his game. So definitely excited to use him in a multitude of ways this season.
Are you going to be able to use Hudson Wolf this year? Do you think he's going to be physically able to play, and how do you figure he figures in?
I think he's been, practicing great, but I think that's probably more of a head coach question with injuries and all that. Thank you, guys. Great seeing you. Absolutely.